Hey everyone, this episode of Fall Obsession Podcast is brought to you guys in partnership with Hoot Camo, Bear River Archery, Tacticam Reveal, and the Outdoor Call radio app. If you guys want to head over to the episode description wherever you are listening to this podcast, you will find some discount codes in there that these partners have put together just for our Fall Obsession followers and podcast listeners. You will find those, like I said, in the description on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Carbon TV, any of the apps that you are listening on. Please make sure that you are following our show, subscribe to our Fall Obsession YouTube channel if you haven't already, and give us a like on social media. Those are all quick ways that you can show us some love and support, and we always appreciate that. I am your show host, Sam Thrash, and this week my guest is Tony Fazzino. He is the owner of one of our partners, Ambush Snack Bags. They're making an incredible product over there, and Tony's going to tell us all about it. We talk more than just products. We also talk a lot of hunting, archery, public land, all that good stuff. You guys are going to love it. Thanks for listening. This is another Fall Obsession podcast.
The power lies within that middle ground.
Hunting transformed my life.
I think you have to be built somewhat different.
That Dale Brisby's a super puncher.
When you get Pop-Tarts on the next Walmart order? I'm serious.
Is to come into this country and stay dedicated to that. It was pretty awesome.
If it's only for one, then you've done your job.
We have to do what's right for the wildlife, and that's our responsibility as hunters.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
Here we go. Welcome back, everybody, to another Fall Obsession Podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm hosting you guys. My guest this week has created a brand that you guys might be familiar with. Some of the products on our Fall Obsession pages, Ambush Snack Bags. The owner himself, Tony Fazzino, is on the podcast. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited, man. I've been looking forward to this one and chatting with you. When we were scheduling this episode's been on the books for a while. We were talking a couple months ago, and you gave me a June date. I was like, oh man, that's a long way away. I'm gonna have to wait a while for this conversation. So
right. That was in partially because I was really busy, and then the other part was getting it closer into beginning of hunting season and starting to get on people's minds, and people are definitely starting to look for hunting podcasts, hunting videos, and getting excited to get out in the woods again.
Oh yeah. I'm definitely already there. I've been watching hunting shows and stuff on YouTube and any spare time I can get right now, and it's on my brain for sure. Something that I'm really looking forward to at this point. So I'm ready to get back out there in the woods.
Absolutely.
Man, for our listeners that haven't heard of Ambush Snap Bags, or we'll start with you that don't know who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became a hunter.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I started hunting kind of like the traditional story. My dad, brought me into the woods when I was young. I probably went hunting for the first time when I was in my teens, maybe 12 or 13. But I loved to hunt at that point, but had not really gotten all that much into it. It was something that, whenever my dad would ask me to go hunting, I would go, and I had a great time when I did it, but didn't necessarily think about it outside of that. But when I went to college at Oklahoma State University, I met a buddy in one of my classes that was a hardcore bow hunting guy. And ever since me and him met, he took me out in the woods, and we would go bow hunting, every weekend during the season. And that's really what kind of got that passion going for hunting, was, getting into bow hunting and getting out in the woods and really starting to learn about, different movements of deer and, figuring out where to set up. So we were hardcore public land hunters.
Awesome.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. So you dove right into archery. There wasn't really hey, I'm going to do this with a gun for a little while and then try the bow thing. You went straight bow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love it.
When I first started with my dad, it was gun hunting. I think I shot maybe one or two deer. But then my buddy, he was super into bow hunting. I had never really shot a bow before, but I got actually one of my friends was nice enough to give me his old bow that I could, get practicing on, get started with, and I mean, nothing to me now beats a good archery hunt. I mean, it has completely changed the game for me.
Oh yeah. I got into it later. I grew up like gun hunting with my dad, and my dad didn't he archery hunted a year or two, like really early on, before I was even born or anything. And I never knew him as a bow hunter, so rifle hunting was all I knew growing up, and I got into it on my own. Just,
Okay.
it was always something that I was interested in, but I was watching, the old Realtree Monster Buck VHS tapes and all that stuff, and all these guys on there are archery hunting. I'm like, man, that would be so cool. And my dad, he eventually gave me his old Hoyt, and I like one of the first compounds that Hoyt ever made. Did not fit me, was not right for me, but by golly, I went out there and shot the crap out of it, just nonstop. And long story short, eventually, when I was a teenager, I got a part-time job in high school working at an archery shop, and then from there it was history as far as me being hooked on bow hunting. So yeah,
That's awesome.
I love archery hunting. I'm at a phase now where I have to be I have to go back a little bit because I did both for a long time, gun and bow, and then for the last 13 years I've been bow only, and everything I've done Texas or out west has been with a bow. But now my son, he just turned 8, and so he's ready to start getting out there and getting hunting. So I'm having to look for more. I'm having to do things a little bit differently now to accommodate having an 8-year-old out there with you. And archery hunting isn't always the best when you got an 8-year-old with you. So I have to.
Yeah.
I'm having to swallow my archer pride a little bit and pick up a boomstick again.
Right, right. Well, it was funny you mentioned your dad kind of passing down, his old bow. And when before I had gotten, my friend's old bow, my dad had actually given me his old bow as well, and it was an old Oneida Eagle. So, I mean, it was, one of those older bows.
Oh yeah.
It's, you can't really hit the broadside of a barn outside of 40 yards. And I remember taking this bow out. I couldn't hit an archery target at 10 yards, but I was certain I was going to kill something with it. And I would go onto public land with a mouth call, trying to call coyotes and shoot them with my bow. I don't know how I thought I was going to be successful with that, but it was just a way to, I guess, get myself out in the woods. But
Yeah.
that vividly.
Yeah, that's I mean that ultimately that's what matters, right? Getting outside, being in the woods, and getting those experiences. But I have the same moments. I think back because before I actually got a bow that was built for me, I bow hunted a season, I think, with that old bow that my dad had, and I still look back on that and I'm like, man, I had no idea what I was doing. That's a little scary that I was out there with that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So, and you said public land was kind of y'all's jam and everything. So, how at what point did you actually get to put a deer or another animal on the ground with your bow?
It was so when I went to college, it was my sophomore year when I shot my first deer with a bow. There's actually a deer right behind me.
Awesome. Dang.
It was
That's a
on
nice
public
deer.
land. Yeah, it was it's my buddy, he had a spot on public land, and he was like, "Hey, go sit here." It's during the rut, and it was actually during gun season. So I realized later on that spot during gun season is probably not worth going to with the bow, because I mean, you'll look in every direction and you'll see, someone in bright orange. So um, it's not necessarily the most ideal spot during gun season. But this deer came running out at 20 yards and ended up shooting it. It was a terrible shot, as I'm sure most people's first, deer with the bow is. And we ended up tracking that deer for the next 6 hours. We tracked it over a mile until we finally found it, and then had to drag it, a mile out of public land. So I figured I had to get it shoulder mounted because the story was just too good.
Yeah, that's a long drag. You might be better off cutting them up and packing them out, Western style.
Yeah, we've learned that since then. We definitely don't drag anything out now. It's definitely way easier to just cut them up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's if you're having to go that far, for sure. So are you still primarily a public land hunter?
I am. Yeah. I love public land. I just love the aspect of trying to find different areas and learning the deer in those areas, figuring out how the pressure pushes the deer and makes them move in different ways. So I started out hunting Oklahoma public. I still hunt Oklahoma public, Southern public, Northern public. I mean, all over the state, they've got great opportunities. But now I hunt a lot of Kansas public, which is, I'm realizing, a very different game. During early season, there's not a whole lot of people hunting, but when it gets to the rut, there's a lot of people. So you kind of have to, during those 2 or 3 weeks, kind of have to figure out what those deer are doing differently than they are before then.
Yeah, the rut is I mean, just in a general context, and all the deer hunters listening know, it is a very unique time and everything, and you can exhaust yourself mentally trying to figure out tactically what to do, when to hunt, where to hunt, how to hunt, all that kind of stuff to tag a big deer. And I've had big deer during the rut in recent years certainly drive me insane, trying to apply tactics I thought were best, getting advice from other guys and trying to apply those tactics, and then just, none of the cards for me at least falling into place. It'll run you ragged. But then you throw in the element, I hunt private right now. I'm that private land snob, I guess, but you with public land, you throw in the pressure from everybody else out there during that time frame, because especially for guys that work your normal Monday through Friday jobs and stuff. When do you take off for deer hunting? You try to plan around the rut when you got a chance at a big buck, right? So everybody's going to be out there. So
yeah. And I've learned a lot of times that I overthink it. You think so much about it. You think that, your best option is to go 2 miles in, away from everyone. But I've seen just as many big deer 100 yards into public than I have 2 miles in. So I think it just comes down to, what work you're wanting to put in. Sometimes it's more of an adventure when you go in deep into public. So I like that aspect of it sometimes, but other times it's just not worth it.
Yeah, well, certainly the adventure is there, but then you already talked about learning and understanding what your deer are doing and everything, and learning and understanding what changes and what those deer do if you pull up and there's a dozen pickup trucks sitting out there, right? And you're like, okay, well, this changes things. I'm going to have to adapt to this because this is now what I'm suspecting these deer are probably going to do if there's a lot of pressure in here right now. So, and I think that I think it's all relative to what you apply yourself to, but I'd have a lot of respect for the guys who primarily do the public land game, because I think that if they're truly invested in it, then your abilities as a woodsman is a whole lot better in my opinion. Now, certainly the guys that hunt private, they can learn the same things from it, and they can invest the same amount of knowledge, but I think that there's a little bit of an extra fire lit under you when you're on public and you're competing with other hunters potentially for a certain amount of deer, and you want to be successful. You want to make the most of your time and your efforts. You want to go back deep in there, and you got to understand the woods in order to be successful. So I think that there's a huge element of woodsmanship that comes with being a successful public land hunter. So
definitely. And I think, I've found, at least with myself, that when I'm hunting private, I almost hold myself back a little bit more because I know what kind of deer are on the property, or I know the potential of the deer. And so when I'm hunting public, it's almost like the first good opportunity that I get of, a decent mature buck, I'm probably going to take it, regardless of the size of the antlers or, how much time it's taken me. On public land, I just have, I guess, more of a tendency to pull the trigger than I do on private land, which is something that I appreciate because, I like the action of it.
Yeah.
I like pulling the trigger and blood tracking and doing the whole thing. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that that mentality, I've definitely felt that, the comparison between the two, and I try to not be the picky guy on private. I even look back at footage from some of our shows from 5-6 years ago, and I one buck in particular still haunts me. I look at this one buck that I passed multiple times in the same season, and I'm like, dude, I should have shot that deer, because I ended up not filling a buck tag. I had another deer on my mind that I was hunting, and I let this 10-point walk. I saw him in person. I could have killed this deer a dozen times probably that season, and I let him walk, and I still regret it. I still watch those episodes, and I'm like, dude, what was I thinking? I was an idiot. So I definitely try not to be that guy anymore. If I have a decent buck walk out, that's going to be the opportunity that I try to take advantage of. But certainly, I think part of what has changed my mentality on that too is being able to go out west. I have been able to go out west several times in recent years and everything, and there was no doubt in my mind. I was like, man, I'm going out here and I'm archery hunting on top of that. I'm going to shoot the first legal thing that I get a shot at this point. And the good Lord was good, and I was still able to fill tags with some nice animals nonetheless, but they were the first nice animals I had a shot at. So
yeah.
I know how that goes, and I certainly think that guys should take on that mentality more times than not. So
definitely. Yeah, I similar experience. I try to get out west as much as I can. Been to Arizona. We usually try to go to Arizona almost every year. But in particular, we had been to Arizona maybe 4 or 5 times and had not filled a tag yet. I mean, we were trying. I mean, we were going for weeks at a time, and we just could not get anything lined up. And this last time that we went, I told myself, I'm going to stalk any legal animal that walks out. Like, I'm not going to hold myself back. I'm not going to wait for a big one to go and stalk, because I need to put in the practice and shoot something. And I stalked spikes all week. And the spikes fooled me all week long. And then I finally ended up shooting a pretty decent buck on the very last day. But like you were saying, it's like you have that mentality where you'll shoot anything, but sometimes it just works out where something a little bit nicer gives you the actual opportunity.
Yeah. I believe that some of that is, good things come to those who wait and those who are patient in a certain regard, but at the same time, you're putting in the effort, and if there's an opportunity to be had, you'll take advantage of that. I hunted Colorado in 2023, and not the mountainous Colorado that most people think of. It was northeastern Colorado. It was flatland Colorado, like farmland, Nebraska feel to it, and hunting mule deer with a bow in that flat country like an idiot. But I was doing it nonetheless. And I can remember the first 2 days, this snowstorm had come in. Like I drove in this snowstorm, and it really affected those deer. There was hardly anything out and moving that we were getting in on for 2 days. And so the third day, I think it was the third day, early in the morning, we see this little forky buck in this field. And I was like, let me out of the truck. Like, I'm taking my bow. I'm doing a stalk on this deer. I got to do something. Like, we've been driving these farm roads trying to glass and find deer for 2 days and hadn't hardly seen anything. Let me have a stalk on this little deer. And I mean, if I get a shot, it's meant to be. And I did not. I came pretty close, but I did not. And again, it was one of those things where turned out there's a reason, because around lunchtime we found a decent buck bedded, and 2 hours later I had crawled into 28 yards on that joker, and he's hanging on my wall now. So it's it was one of those things. It's like, all right, well, I'm putting forth the effort, and all right, here, thank you, Lord, here's a good opportunity. So
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. It's I love hunting out west, man. It's a good time. I was going to ask you about your western hunting experiences, because when I asked you to send some photos for us to use to promote the episode, man, you had a whitetail in there, you had an elk in there, you got one where you're holding a big old catfish. Like it's obvious you get around and do a lot of cool outdoor stuff. So I was going to ask you kind of what all that entails for you on a given season, or just in recent years, as far as the opportunities you've had.
Yeah, absolutely. I try and get out in the outdoors as much as I possibly can. It doesn't matter what activity it is. When it's deer season, I'm out there in a tree stand or spot and stalk, or after that, I'm huge into shed hunting. I love shed hunting. I wear through my boots faster than I ever thought I could, because I love looking for antlers, and you end up putting on a lot of miles doing that.
Yeah.
But here recently, I guess I've gone twice now, once to New Mexico and once to Wyoming, just for shed hunting. So I got out there, trying to, which for someone from, the southern U.S. or the Midwest, trying to figure out what elk do can be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
I realized, because when you go out there, you don't know what elevation those elk are at. You don't know where they've been, where they're going. Like, you don't know if they're on open hillsides. You don't know if they're in the timber. And, you can watch and listen to and read about everything that's out there about how elk use habitat and their preferences. But I don't know what it is, but there's just something different when you get boots on the ground. It's like you're second guessing everything that you do, because you've never seen an elk out there before. You've never, seen one doing what you think they're supposed to do. But yeah, getting out west and looking for elk antlers is a blast, because when you finally stumble on one, it's like finding the golden egg.
Yeah.
You put on, by this point, hundreds of miles, and then you finally pick up an antler, maybe small, but it's an adrenaline rush for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's in that country for sure. Shed hunting in that country is that's a workout, man. That's a task for sure.
Absolutely. And then you also deal with shed hunting in the West is really, really popular. So a lot of states have started putting in place, shed hunting seasons. And in doing so, once that shed season starts, everyone flocks to the hills. And so in addition to wondering what the elk are doing, you're also wondering, well, have people walked this already?
Right.
Have they gone to this spot? So that also kind of throws a little extra into it.
Yeah.
But still a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure, man. I've had the privilege to do just one elk hunt so far in my life, and I was full draw on a bull, and it was an adrenaline rush. I did not have a clear shot, so I didn't fling an arrow. We as a hunting party were successful. We had a group of 4 of us up there, but I did not film my tag, but that was okay. It was still a good experience for me, and I'll go back eventually. But yeah, I got a lot of respect for elk hunting, for those animals, and for that country, because it did a number on this Texas boy for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, I've never gone on a elk hunt out west, but I've gone on several elk hunts in Oklahoma, where you draw for the tag. And yeah, once you get an elk on the ground and you're packing that thing out, you don't realize how heavy an elk is until it's on your shoulders.
Yeah.
And it's a heck of a workout.
What is elk hunting in Oklahoma like? You're the first guest I've had on the show that has mentioned elk hunting in Oklahoma. What is that like?
Yeah, so it's on the western side of Oklahoma. There's a mountain range there. I think it's called the Wichita National Wildlife Refuge, or Wichita Mountains out there, and they've got this huge refuge that's got elk, bison, a bunch of deer, and during later in the year, I think the first hunt is usually January. So it's January and February is usually when those hunts are. And it's a rifle hunt. Typically, most of the tags are going to be cow elk tags. But then a few lucky people get to draw a bull tag. And I mean, it feels like you're in the West, except there's less grass. Everything that we're walking through is, giant boulders, giant red rocks. But the way they have it set up is you hike into these ranges of mountains, and you can get 8 miles in away from public access. Not that you would want to, pack an elk out 8 miles, but it's a really cool hunt. There's a lot of elk out there. The success rate is usually pretty good. And both times that I've gone, so it's a once in a lifetime tag. So first time I went myself and filled my tag. And the second time I went with a friend. And so I was helping them. You can bring one person along with you. So once in a lifetime tag, it's a great hunting opportunity. Definitely if people are hunting in Oklahoma or around Oklahoma, I highly recommend putting in for that draw, because it's awesome. It's the closest you can get to elk hunting, outside of going all the way west.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's one of those areas in those states you don't think of when you think of elk country, but there's so many places throughout the country where they have elk, and I'm referring to more of a more of a natural established population of elk, opposed to, I know there's elk down here in Texas on high fence ranches. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about elk that actually live in these places. But yeah, it's always interesting to hear about elk hunting in some of these states that aren't primarily known as your elk states. So
Definitely. Yeah. And we hunt eastern Oklahoma a lot as well, archery for deer. And we run into elk there all the time as well.
Really?
Like we'll get them on trail cameras, big old bull elk, but you're not yet, at least, not allowed to hunt those. So
yeah.
But once they do, we'll have a spot ready to go.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, man, we have kept our listeners waiting probably longer than I anticipated, but I enjoy just getting on here and talking hunting. It's always a good time, and that's ultimately what the roots of the show, where they stem from. But you and I got connected through your brand, Ambush Snack Bags, a year or two ago, and tell our listeners a little bit about this product and where the idea for it came from.
Absolutely. So we'll start with the product itself. So the product is a silicone snack bag meant for snacking while hunting. All of your favorite snacks tend to come in very loud wrappers.
Yep.
I've found. And, over the years of snacking in the woods, you start to realize that the loudest thing in the tree stand is your snacks. So with this bag, it's 100%, food grade silicone. It's microwave safe, dishwasher safe, and it comes in a few different colors. I've actually got them here with me. I've got, this is our larger size, comes in a camo. We've got some tan color. We've also got an orange color. Working on bringing out, a few more sizes and maybe even some more products here soon. But the whole idea behind the snack bag came from spending time in the woods. So as you probably could tell, as I'm talking about hunting, is I love hunting. I love being competitive about hunting. I love everything about, getting serious about hunting. But to me, the most important thing about being in the woods is having a good time. And so I'm probably not going to leave the truck without snacks. And so in doing so, I kind of had this idea a few years back where, I wanted to start a business of some kind, but I didn't know what I wanted to start. And so as I have this idea of wanting to start a business, I started creating a list of different product ideas that I had, different business ideas. And ultimately, this is kind of where I landed. I knew that whatever product I made, I wanted to be in the hunting industry, just because, hunting products I feel like are very different than a lot of other products in the fact that it's a very word of mouth industry. It's a very close knit industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just wanted to be a part of that. And so, the idea came to my head. Picking a name was a different story. That was a long process, but ultimately landed on Ambush Snack Bags, and glad I did it.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the product for sure. And I remember, and if I'm trying to jog my own memory here and remember kind of where it all came to be, but I want to say that you reached out to us like, hey, can I give y'all a product, and if y'all like it, great. If you don't, no worries. But I'm just trying to get my name out there, and he sent us a couple, and it's one of those deals that, I see this all the time in the hunting industry, in my own profession. It's like, man, why didn't I think of that? This is a great idea. It's like, man, I could have thought of this and made $1 million or something. It's one of those, it's one of those light bulb moments. It's like, man, this is brilliant. And yeah, especially like I already mentioned earlier, I have kids, and taking my son out there and everything. And especially if you're hunting with kids, man, you have to have snacks. You can't go out there without snacks and expect to have a decent experience with a kid in a deer stand. And mine has been very, very handy many times in taking him out there with my son. And yeah, it's just it's a great product. I can't say enough good things about it. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think one of the coolest things about kind of creating this product and kind of taking hold and really having people start to find this product and use it is hearing all of the feedback from it. I mean, all of the people, talking about how they're enjoying bringing these bags into the woods, how it's making their hunting experience better. Now they're able to snack without thinking about loud wrappers, and especially like you were saying, getting kids into the woods. I know that, having a lot of parents reach out and say, this product has been great. They've got, each of my kids has got a different color, and that's kind of what I've been hearing through the grapevine. So
yeah, that's awesome. What were there any challenges, anything that was a big hurdle to overcome in getting this thing off the ground? Because I've talked to people on the show before about it, how it's just in regards to starting a business, regardless of the industry, but in this case the outdoor industry, you can have an idea, oh man, I could do this would be awesome, but then actually going the distance to bring that idea to reality. What was that like for you in your journey in establishing this?
yeah, and so actually building the product was probably not the most challenging part. The hardest part for me was initially just getting the name out there. Like I was telling you earlier, in the hunting industry, everything is so word of mouth.
Yeah.
It's such a tight knit or close knit community that initially getting the product in people's hands is just a challenge in general. So kind of the way that I started out was initially with Facebook ads. And, you do gain a little bit of traction that way. But like you were talking about earlier, once you start to get the bags in the hands of people who are making hunting content, out there using the bags and talking about the bags, that's when it really starts to take off. Yeah. And so I would say over the past year is when I was really able to start getting them in the hands of people who are going to use them, who are going to talk about them. And that has really, really grown the brand.
Yeah. Did you have to go through, like, before you actually had a product that you were willing to bring to market, did you have to do a lot of testing, or were there versions of the product early on before market that you were like, nah, this isn't it, man. This isn't what I'm envisioning?
Definitely. I lucked out with the bag design ended up being kind of exactly what I was looking for initially. But when I started with the colors, that's where, things started kind of going a little crazy. Initially, I wanted to do a print on the outside of the bag to have some sort of, camo design that was recognizable by, the general public, not like digital camo or Realtree or anything like that, but, wanted a printed camo on it, but realized early on that if you're going to do any sort of printing on the bags, then it's no longer food grade or food safe. And so that was just off the table. Then I started mixing colors and trying to get, a kind of a color that made you think of camo. And initially that was a mess. I mean, it looked nothing like camo. It was yellow and orange and, I mean, the brightest green you've ever seen. And yeah, initially that was when I was working on that, I was like, man, I don't know if this is going to work out because this is a little crazy. But did end up landing on the right colors.
Good. Yeah, no, they're catchy, man. And I've been impressed with just the quality and the durability of them. The dishwasher thing is a great savior for sure, because that I've pulled them after a hunt or whatever, and they're all dirty or dusty or got crumbs on the inside. Just being able to stick it in the dishwasher is pretty handy. But then like I've went as far, and I think we actually put a video last year sometime on our page where I filled a couple of them up with water and sealed them shut, and then held them upside down and popped them and everything. And it like they hold, if they're sealed well, they hold water and everything like any other bag, Ziploc bag or something like that should. And that's been impressive. Not that people are taking their drinking water or soup or anything to a deer stand with them, right? But you could, I guess, if you wanted to.
Yeah. And we had found out early on that the key with the seal of the bag is removing all the excess air. So like if you're gonna fill your bag with snacks and throw it in a pack with a bunch of other stuff, making sure there's not a lot of excess air in there, squeeze that out, seal it tight, then you're pretty much good to go. But I found, and I catch myself doing this all the time just because I love snacking, is I'll fill the bag, I mean, way fuller than it should be. And that's when you start to run into, maybe a few issues. So you kind of have to, it's almost like portion control.
Yeah.
Dieting for a deer hunter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why we're working on some larger sizes. That way you don't have to limit yourself for how much you want to eat in the deer stand.
Yeah, we had I'm trying to remember which one of our hunts from last year or the year before it was, because our staff, they go on, they'll join each other in different parts of the country for deer hunts or western hunts or whatever it might be. I can't recall the hunting trip off the top of my head, but I remember there being a discussion about who could fit the most Little Debbies in their ambush snack bag. So yeah, those ceiling tips might be something that the guys need to the guys need to pick up on so they can fit more in there, or just get the bigger one because you got the bigger size too. So
Right. And I've started, this was not the original intent of the bag. The original intent was just regular snacks. But what I've started using the bags for a lot, as I'm hunting, using the bags, testing them, is I'll get instant oatmeal. I'll put instant oatmeal in there, and then I'll pour hot water in it, mix it up, and then I'll seal the bag, put it in my pack, and I'll hike into my morning hunting spot, and then I can enjoy some warm oatmeal while I'm up in a tree.
That's not a bad idea. I said the soup thing jokingly, but but that actually sounds good. That actually works. I like that.
Yeah. I try not to make it too soupy, but
yeah. Well, and that's the cool thing that I've always enjoyed with any of the products that we use here at Fall Obsession is, we've always from the start always tried to have a standard that we hold ourselves to, and that people expect of us, that hey, we're not gonna partner with a brand that just because, or just to get free stuff or discounted stuff or whatever it might be. If we're gonna put our name next to it, it's because we believe that it's quality and it's worth your time and your money as the customer, right? Because we recognize that majority of our listener base is blue collar, and not that blue collar people aren't willing to spend their hard-earned money, but it's hard-earned money and you want to spend on something that's actually going to make a difference and last for you. So we've always tried to associate ourselves with brands that we believe are worthy of that and worth that. And I know for me, one of the things that I always enjoy, we test products out when we first get our hands on them, like we did yours and everything, but we go through the testing phase, and then it's summertime, you're not hunting, you see the product sitting over there on the desk or next to your hunting bag and that kind of thing, but then when you actually get out in the woods and you're like, oh, I get to use it, and then you actually use it and it works like it's supposed to. I don't know why, I feel like a kid on Christmas, man. Like, oh man, I actually get to open up my new toy and play with it. So
yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's always a fun time. We certainly enjoy the products. Have you gotten any feedback or photos sent to you of people just putting some ridiculous stuff that you wouldn't expect in the bags? Have you gotten anything like that, or has it all been pretty as you would expect?
I would say, yeah, for the most part, it's all been pretty as you would expect. I actually did. Now that I'm thinking about it, I had someone send in a picture. They were collecting, I think they were collecting geodes, or they're like some sort of minerals or rocks. They were filling their ambush snack bags with rocks, which again, not the original intended purpose, but if it works for you in that way, then I'm happy. You
Yeah. Just it could be something that you already have in your bag, and you need to scoop something up real quick. It would work for that too, I guess. So
definitely.
So what's and you might not be able to give away any big secrets on the show or anything, but you alluded earlier that y'all are working on some other stuff, and I was going to ask you just in a general context, like what's next for this brand, because it seems like you're getting some traction, or I hope you are at least, and that this thing is growing. So what's the plan moving forward? How's it going to continue to develop?
Yeah, absolutely. So number one thing is definitely listening to the customers. So I think this year especially, we're going to be definitely putting out a lot of content, a lot of questions out there, reaching out to customers and trying to figure out kind of almost what the customers are expecting or what they're wanting to see from us. I know there's several different ways that we could kind of expand from here. We could add new colors, we could add new sizes, and we could also add new products in general. Um, I personally am interested in all of those things. But when you're kind of a newer business, you kind of have to pick and choose. And I want to make sure that we pick and choose exactly what our customers are wanting. So we've definitely considered adding some additional products um, similar to these, but maybe their intended purpose is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I can't give away too much, but yeah, definitely if there's any customers out there or any people out there that are considering buying, would love for y'all to reach out to us and let us know kind of what you're wanting to see, new products, new colors, anything under the sun. So
Yeah.
reach out and let us know.
That's awesome. I love the customer oriented approach as well. I think that's excuse me. I think that's really essential. If you want to grow and succeed, you gotta listen to the people who are actually wanting it. So that's a big step right there for sure. What else? What else haven't we covered on Ambush Snack Bags? What else do you want to share with people, or whether it's about the journey and the story to get here, about the product itself? Is there anything that we haven't hit on?
Yeah, I mean, just in general, I think if there's anyone out there that's considering starting any sort of business, whether it's hunting related or not hunting related, I'm a huge advocate for, people getting out there and starting their own thing, especially like what you're doing with Fall Obsession. And, I think starting a new business or a new endeavor can be scary, but I highly recommend it to anyone. Even if you trip and fall during it, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not meant to be a business owner. It just means that maybe you're headed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So I definitely would encourage people out there to give it a shot.
Yeah. No, it's like we talked about earlier. It's that taking that idea that you've had on, oh man, this would be awesome, and actually putting in the initiative and be like, you know what, if so and so can do it, or if they can do it, I can do it, and putting yourself out there and making it happen. So yeah,
Right.
and the outdoor industry is a tough one to grow in, and I will say that us not having, like you talked about us here at Fall Obsession, and I appreciate the compliment. It's a grind too. We don't have a physical product necessarily that we can throw everything behind, or a product line that is. It's we're in the media game, and golly, everybody wants to be in the media game or is trying to be in the media game. So you have to be able to, whether it's through your product or through your content, you have to be able to set yourself apart from everybody else. And not that I don't look at it as you're competing with other people, but it's more of a, your stuff has to be worth somebody's time, or in your case worth their money, to make that purchase and everything. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've found, I mean, even because, I watch a lot of hunting media, a lot of videos and podcasts and content like that. And I agree with what you're saying, where it's not necessarily that you're competing with each other, because I watch different people for different reasons, right? They all bring a different personality or different information, facts, or just funny. So I can appreciate, whenever there's even more people out there doing it, because there's enough market share for everyone to be involved and to get out there and have a good time.
Yeah. And I know from our standpoint, it can be exhausting, but we try to have a wide variety for that reason, so that if not that we're completely there yet with the well-rounded machine or anything, but it's it's one of those deals where using the podcast, for example, I've really tried to expand this show into having a lot of different people from a lot of different genres talking about a lot of different things on here, because as a podcast consumer, I go in phases, where I might listen to this show or look for these kind of episodes on different shows for a while, and then I get interested in something else and I'm looking for that. So I try to always have something that is, every episode might not be everyone's cup of tea, but if you start looking, you're bound to find something that interests you for sure. So
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
So I got a few questions that I kind of take us to the end of our conversation normally here on Fall Obsession Podcast that I ask every first time guest. But before I get there, just real quick, want to just hit it one more time, make sure that we're not missing anything else on ambush snack bags that you would like to share with the audience.
Not that I can think of. I mean, y'all know where to find us, at ambushsnackbags.com. Like I had said earlier, would love to hear feedback from y'all. Always looking to reach out and help where we can. I know every once in a while we'll have people reach out, looking for donations for different organizations and things like that. So definitely reach out if you're a part of an organization like that, and always love to help out and give back.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna tell everybody to go check y'all out anyway, and definitely make a purchase before next hunting season. They're your product is very affordable.
Yeah.
It's well made. It lasts for a while, and it serves its purpose. You can put your fat boy snacks in it and climb up in your deer stand and eat in silence. Like it works as advertised. I use it almost every hunt. Like I put my name and everything behind it. I back the product. So definitely want people to go check you guys out and make a purchase before this upcoming fall hunting season. And I wanted to throw it out here on the episode too, because you've given us a promo code too for our followers and our listeners to use, and it's simple. It's just all one word, lowercase, Fall Obsession. So that's a discount code that you guys can use to shop with Ambush Snack Bags if you're listening to this podcast and everything. But you got to go check out what Tony's built over there and at least pick you up one set of them and see if you like them, and you'll probably be coming back for more. So.
Absolutely.
Well, man, I got 3 questions for you. The first one I think I know the answer to, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I always like to hear what people say, and it's simple: gun or bow?
Ooh, bow.
I figured, given your journey into hunting and everything you shared with us at the beginning, that bow was probably going to be your go-to. So.
Yeah, and I guess I have to expand on that slightly. The reason I choose bow is because, in my opinion, it gives you more opportunity to get out into the woods.
Yeah. Seasons
are typically longer. You get to see what deer do in early season. You get to see what deer do in late season. So I would say that's the main reason why I would choose bow, is because I get more opportunity to be in the woods.
Yeah. I would agree with that, and I think that you just get more intimate with wildlife. Like, I mean, physically you got to be closer. And I think that helps you understand these animals a little bit better and further hone your own skills as a hunter to be able to be successful. So, I agree with you. I'm right there with you, and I wouldn't change it. So, next question I got: what is your favorite hunting memory to date that you can think of, or one of them? Because a lot of people have multiple that come to mind.
Okay, I have one that comes right up to mind. So my favorite hunting memory is with my brother. He is big into bow hunting as well, and I can vividly remember it was 2 or 3 years ago. We were hunting public land in Oklahoma, and we were having, it was a rough weekend hunt. We weren't seeing anything, and we get down to the last morning, and I had finally bumped into a buck, but I had messed up the opportunity. I was at full draw, and the deer ended up spooking and taking off, and I was so disappointed. And I remember I pulled up my truck next to my brother, and I told him what happened, and I was like, man, I'm ready to just go home. I'm ready to leave. This is just not fun. This is not worth our time. Let's just go home. And he said, Tony, it's worth your time. I think you should go in for the afternoon sit and just give it one last sit. Just give it one last try. Like, that's all you got to do. And I was like, you know what? You're probably right. Let's do that.
Yeah.
So I go in and I set up in the same spot that I spooked that deer in the morning. And I had the best sit up to this point of my entire life. I shot a pretty nice buck, right there towards dark, after a rattling sequence. So I rattled, buck came in, I shot him, and as I'm freaking out, trying to figure out what happened, another buck comes in, an even bigger buck.
Oh, dang.
And so I ended up shooting that buck as well. So I ended up shooting two of the biggest bucks I've ever shot, 15 minutes apart from each other. And my brother was there probably 150 yards away. And we tracked those deer through the night, through the rain, found them both, and ended up having a really late night getting back to the house. But
yeah,
I mean, it was one of the best memories.
That is awesome, man. Yeah, that sounds like some prime time rut activity right there. Golly.
Yeah.
Two awesome bucks within 15 minutes. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I shot them both they were both standing in the exact same spot, and I shot them both at 15 yards.
Holy cow. When that second one came out, were you just like, dude, there's no way?
Yeah, no, that deer came out. I didn't even have an arrow nocked or anything because I wasn't ready. I just shot a deer, so I was ready to get down and look at the arrow and everything. But I mean, before I even had a chance, that buck stepped out, walked right up to 15 yards and ended up shooting that one too.
Golly, that is awesome. That's every bow hunter's dream right there.
Right.
Very cool. Last question I got for you. What's on the bucket list or toward the top of the bucket list? What's a hunt that if you had the opportunity to do it, you would consider once in a lifetime?
So this is an interesting question for me because the first thing that comes to my mind at the top of, I guess you would say, hunting bucket list would be actually a shed hunt.
Really?
So it would be, top of my bucket list would be going to Alaska and flying in a bush plane and finding moose antlers. So you'd fly around, you find moose antlers, you put the plane down, pick them up, put them on the plane, and then you keep flying around until you find some more. I would say that's at the very, very top of my list.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I would not have you are the first person on the show, I will admit, that has a shed hunt as the number one hunt on their bucket list. That's a first for the podcast. But man, that does sound pretty incredible, getting to fly around and look for them and do that. That just see those paddles, I would imagine just shining bright from the sky down there in the bush country. So
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I'd love to go on a moose hunt as well. I'd love to, do all those things. But yeah, first thing that came to my mind was a shed hunt.
So, and you got my mind going a little bit. I know we're getting toward the end, but I'm realizing how passionate you are about shed hunting in general and everything. And you might have mentioned it earlier and I missed it, but do you shed hunt with a dog or are you just out there on your own?
Yeah, out there on my own. If I had a shed dog, that would be great. But I just, hike it alone, or sometimes I'm with, a couple of buddies, and we'll do our best to find as many as we can. But I mean, a lot of times shed hunting during that time of year, we're usually doing like 10 to 15 miles a day. So I don't know how that would go with a dog, but yeah, I just don't have one that's trained well enough. So
yeah. What's Any quick tips or anything from the shed hunting standpoint and we'll chalk it up to just whitetails and deer, what the majority of our listeners are probably familiar with themselves, but any tips for them on shed hunting and how to be successful with that? And you can use me as an example, because I am a terrible shed hunter. I really am.
Yeah. So I would say biggest thing is, a lot of times you're not looking for the full antler. I would say the biggest tip that I could give would be just imagine different parts of the antler that you might see laying there. So like sometimes you'll see just the burr sticking up. Sometimes it's just the top of a tine. So a lot of times I have to keep reminding myself that I'm not looking for an antler. I'm looking for a part of an antler.
Yeah.
And that tends to help a lot. Other thing is just put on as many miles as you can. Just because you're not finding them doesn't necessarily mean they're not there.
Mm-hmm.
Just means that maybe you haven't covered enough ground yet, or sometimes you're in really thick country, so you need to grit it out really tight. But yeah, as many miles as you can get down, the more likely you are to find some sheds.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking time this evening to come up about yourself, your journey and experiences as a hunter, and obviously your brand and the product that you guys are putting out. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Remind our listeners one more time where they can find you guys.
So we are ambushsnackbags.com, and on all social media, it's just going to be Ambush Snack Bags.
Easy.
So we're on all of them.
Easy enough. Well, guys, make sure that you go check out Ambush Snack Bags and show Tony some business, show him some love for that product. It is awesome. Use that code FALLOBSESSION at checkout, like I mentioned. And that way, not only knock a few bucks off, but it lets him know that you came from us, that you listened to the show, and that you're showing support, and we always appreciate that. Thanks again, man. Really enjoyed this one. It was a good conversation.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Thank you guys for listening. I'll be back with you guys again next week for another Fall Obsession podcast. We'll catch you then.